Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Aqilah Hanim Binti Taufik and I will be presenting my project Sarjana Muda 2 for my project entitled 3D Virtual Park for Learning the Korean Alphabet. My supervisor is Dr. Aida Binti. So for the introduction, a 3D virtual park where users of all ages are able to learn about the Korean alphabet using virtual reality without physically being in class. Problem statements are, during the pandemic, those who are eager to learn are not able to attend classes physically. Lack of opportunity or motivation to practice, and teaching and learning are still in the traditional method or reading and imagining. With advanced technology, virtual reality gives an opportunity to those who are eager to learn outside their classroom with graphics and audio. Using head-mounted display as headset, users can be transported into a different world. Users can explore and learn about the objects using virtual reality with interaction like hearing the pronunciation of the objects in the Korean language and learning the spelling of the objects in the Korean alphabets named Hangul. So the aim of this project is to develop a 3D virtual park for learning the Korean alphabet. So the project objectives are to create a virtual reality application that teaches users the Korean alphabet and basic words in 3D, to develop a 3D virtual park for learning the Korean alphabet, a fun learning experience in a park in 3D, and to evaluate the application's functions and usability as an interactive learning platform for users to learn the fundamentals of the Korean language. So the scopes of this project are a single user, one single player, a 3D environment which includes 3D objects and 3D scenes, users of all ages, where we use VR for learning, and a head-mounted display is by using a Google Cardboard and VR boxes. So next is the literature review. Virtual reality is where users are able to completely submerge themselves in the virtual world and interact with an artificial three-dimensional environment that is designed to stimulate the actual world through the usage of virtual reality. VR headgear such as Google Cardboard, VR boxes or Oculus, which cover the user's entire field of vision and allow them to escape the actual world. So the VR interaction used in this application is raycasting. So in 2018, Peace Project mentioned that the initial version of object selection was referred to as a laser gun instead of raycasting. So raycasting is a pointer that is used in the real world in which the user directs a beam of light to a target and verifies its selection by moving pictures, voice instructions, or button clicks. He also said that raycasting should be done in part for the purpose of identifying objects in a more efficient manner. So these are the existing systems. So we have, first of all, Mohd VR, an application that helps travelers with their conversation in any country they would like. They have more than 10 countries. They have more than 10 languages in their system. Next is Immerse Me, a VR application to immerse users in language learning scenarios, similarly to Mohd VR. And the last one is Virtual Speech, a VR application that provides soft skill trainings like presentation, making pitches, and more. So next is the methodology. So the project methodology for this project is Agile method, where in phase 1 I was to create a park walkthrough for learning and virtual reality for learning language. I was to research about these two particular objects, and for phase 2 is to actually develop the 3D virtual park, the VR environment, the VR interaction, and user interaction, 3D audio, 3D object selection and audio, and also the raycasting technique. Phase 3 is where I integrate it into the virtual world and also the evaluation of the project. When the user puts on their HMD, the rendered image will show, and by gaze, they can use raycasting to interact with the objects, and a pop-up will appear as well as the audio of the objects. This is the flowchart of the 3D virtual park initially. Next is the software used. So this project is entirely developed in Unity 3D game engine. So next is the analysis and design. So as said before, it is used in Unity 3D. The assets used are playground low poly. The 3D models, there are 12 different objects in the 3D scene. So next is the XR plugin. As you can see here, I used the outdated Binti version, which is the 2019.4.33, and this particular Unity version does not support XR plugin. So I had to use the old XR settings in the player settings and tick on Google Cardboard here. So next is Google Cardboard. As you can see, it's what I said before. I had to integrate the Google VR, the old version of Google VR, and I had to use the old version of Unity. I can't use the latest ones because GVR is already discontinued. So next is lesson. Next is the lesson part of the application. So this section of the application has just been added this semester during my PSM2. So the first lesson shows the alphabets, or the consonants, the vowels of the Korean alphabet, and the second lesson shows the name, the spelling, and how to pronounce the objects that can be found in the park. Next is the quiz section of the application, where there are 10 questions in total, and all 10 questions ask the same pattern of questions, which is where the one question, all questions will show the objects and also the full spelling of the objects in the Korean alphabet, but the users will have to find out what is the individual alphabets of the object. So as you can see in the image, they look almost alike. All the answers look almost alike, but actually there are a few alphabets that are wrongly placed, and it's not the same alphabet. It doesn't pronounce the same. So as you can see here, the green means that the user has chosen the correct answer, and when they choose the wrong answer, it will turn red. The answers will turn red. And on the bottom right image, it's the score that the users will get. And here they can retry to answer all the 10 questions, or they could go back to the main menu and they could take the lessons again. Next is the VR environment, this is the 3D park scene, and the 12 3D objects that are in the scene that shows the audio source and also the pop-up image in the scene. So as you can see here, the 12 objects are also the same as lesson 2. Next is the interaction, which is raycasting. So as seen in the picture, we can see the reticle pointer, which is the circle in the middle of the object, and also the pop-up image, which appears above the users. Next, you can see on the left image is the reticle pointer, which is the green line, the green ray shooting out of the player, and on the right image is the audio sources that have been embedded into the 3D objects. So next is evaluation. So the respondents are users of all ages, and the youngest that have participated in this evaluation was a 7-year-old, and she needed my help to guide her through the entire application, as she was not able to read and understand the application yet. And the eldest that have answered this evaluation was a 65-year-old, but he managed to successfully finish the evaluation by himself, independently. So next is the pre-test questionnaire. So first, as of the age category, I can see that the majority of 40% is of 15 to 39 years old. The other 60% are divided into 3, 20% for below 50, 20% for 40 to 59, and 20% for above 60. The second question asks if they have studied any languages other than English and Malay, and 70% says yes, while the other 30 says no. The third question asks if they have used any learning application on their smartphone. 70% says yes, and 30% says no. The next question asks if they think it is easy to learn from a smartphone application. So 40% says yes, 40% says that it is not so easy, and 20% says that it is hard to learn. So the next question asks for the correct answer to the word table. So 50% answered correctly, while the other 50% answered wrongly. For the sixth question and last question for the pre-test questionnaire, asks is if the users know how to read Korean alphabets. 50% says no, 30% says yes, and 20% says a little bit. Next is the post-test questionnaire. So there are 18 questions in total. So the first question asks, was the application easy to use? 60% says that it's very easy. 40% says that it's easy, so it's 100% easy. Overall, second question asks if it's user friendly. 90% says yes, and 10% says no. The third question is, the explanations given are helpful in directing my use of the application. 90% says yes, and 10% says no. The next question asks if they understand what this learning application is trying to convey. 60% says yes, and 40% says that they understand a little. None of them answered that they did not understand. I am able to utilize this application independently. So as I said, 90% says yes, and the 10% is the younger respondent who needed my help. So Next is, I am familiar with the learning objectives. So 80% says yes, 10% says maybe, and 10% answers no, that they do not understand the learning objectives. I have immediate feedback on my success or failure while completing the quiz questions. So 100% says that yes, they did get immediate feedback, which is the red color for wrong answers, green for correct answers, and also the score of that they obtained after they completed 10 questions. The degree of difficulty is suitable, neither too challenging nor too easy. 100% says yes. The user interface is simple to comprehend. 100% says yes. The pointer readily detects the objects in the park. So 70% yes says yes that it does, and another 30% says sometimes. I pay close attention when during the lesson section and while completing the quiz. 90% says yes and 10% says no. The majority of the activities are learning related, so 100% agrees to this statement. All lessons, quiz, and the VR park expanded my understanding on the Korean alphabet. 80% says yes and 20% says maybe just a little. After using this application, I know the Korean spelling for tree. So it's 100% positive answer, where 70% says that yes, they do, and another 30% says that they maybe no. I enjoyed using this learning application. 70% says yes, it's really fun, and 30% says that it's fun, so it's 100% positive review. Which part was the most fun? So a majority of the respondents like the VR park. 40% says that they like the VR park, and the other 60 is divided by 2, 30% for lesson and 30% for quiz. How much do you score this application? So 70% scores a 5 out of 5, and 30% scores a 4 out of 5. Next is the feedbacks or suggestions in the post-test questionnaire. So most of them said that they had no feedback and suggestions, but there is a respondent that said that this application is really useful and they like the lessons, and that maybe they can add sound for each alphabet. I'm guessing for the lesson, and also a back button in VR park. So next is the conclusion. Achievement: successfully designed a 3-dimensional application for virtual reality that teaches users the Korean alphabet and some basic words. Successfully developed a 3D virtual park for learning the Korean alphabet, and successfully conducted an evaluation of the application's functions and usability as an interactive learning platform for users to learn the fundamentals of Korean language. Next is the future improvements. So in the future improvements, I would be adding a back button. I would like to add a back button for the VR scene. It gives users the ability to return to the screen or page they were on before, preventing them from having to restart the process all over again. Next, I would also like to add the audio source for alphabets in the lesson section. Each alphabet should be made into a button that can be clicked on and plays an audio source for the pronunciation of the alphabet. That is all from me. Thank you.